afternoon, everybody. To get us started off today, I wanted to share a personal brief story with you guys. I had a friend of 13 years who I considered to be my absolute best friend. This friend knew the ins and outs of my life. However, over time, this friendship started to drain me, and I became more distant with everybody around me. I soon found out later that this friend was spreading lies about me behind my back and pulling me away from my other loved ones. All drama aside, what did I learn here? It wasn't until I had hit a breaking point that I realized I needed to let go. This was a toxic friendship, and unfortunately, these have become quite common nowadays. Oftentimes, we struggle at knowing when to let go. If you have ever been in one of these friendships that left you feeling empty or unappreciated, just know you are not alone, but leaving these is often easier said than done. Toxic friendships have many negative impacts on us and on our lives. They harm us both emotionally and physically. And believe it or not, science actually backs up friendship. A joint study done by UCLA and UCI psychology majors states that dealing with a toxic friend affects an individual's health by increasing levels of stress proteins that lead to inflammation within the body. This is the hormone cortisol, and an increased level of cortisol in your body can lead to chronic stress and cause negative effects on your cardiovascular health or your heart health, which is supported by research done by the Johns Hopkins University. The Johns Hopkins University carved out a study in which they categorized what they called life's 8 essential components. These included diet, physical activity, nicotine exposure, sleep quality, body mass index, or BMI, blood lipids, blood glucose, and blood pressure. Of those who participated in the study, only 11% scored highly. This is pretty bad because in order to score highly, you needed just a minimum of 50%. This goes to show how low people were scoring on these. The remaining 89% scored poorly on this Life's Essential 8 and attributed it to having them related to having toxic friendships before in their lives. Low Life's 8 essential scores were actually linked to a higher increased risk of developing cardiovascular diseases and issues such as heart attack or stroke. But we know that there are so many negative impacts in these friendships. Even in the midst of those friendships, we know that they are harming us. But for some reason, there is something keeping us there. We're unsure why. Why are we holding on to something that is causing us so much suffering? Just a quick question by show of hands. Is there anybody in this room who's interested in business and is familiar, okay, that's good, familiar with the sunk cost fallacy? Anybody? Okay, a few. So the sunk cost fallacy in business states that continuing to invest in a project due to past time or effort or money that was put into it, rather than its current value or future prospects. Okay, take a step back, Anna. You lost me after you said business. I thought we were talking about friendships. Hear me out. Let me explain. The sunk cost fallacy in toxic friendships leaves you holding on to these friendships and holding on to these negative relationships just because of how much past effort and time you have put into them. I faced this inner conflict when I was trying to get out of my friendship. I felt guilty leaving because I knew just how much time we had spent together. I asked myself, was it really worth giving up 13 years? I had even gotten to a completely low point of self-esteem that I asked myself, would I ever find a friendship like this again? The correct answer is yes, you will, and better. I have learned to make true, healthy friendships with people who are always supporting me, putting a smile on my face, and bringing a light to my day. These are the friendships that we are called to cultivate, and the moments with them are the ones we need to cherish. Now, we looked at a bunch of negative impacts, so let's go to the flip side and look at what positive relationships can do for us in our lives positively. The APA, in their Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, stated 3 main benefits that strong, positive social connections do for us in our lives. They enhance our life satisfaction, they strengthen our coping mechanisms, and they actually enhance our immunity and reduce our vulnerability to disease. You are statistically less likely to gain and catch all these diseases and illnesses when you are surrounded by the proper support system around you. Enhanced life satisfaction. You have an increased longevity of life. When you are surrounded by the right people, you are more likely to live longer and with a better quality of life. But what do these true friendships look like? What are some things that we can look for to find these friendships? Something that I have seen is mutual respect and support. A true friend will always be there to celebrate your successes and will always be there in your lowest point of your struggle. A true friend will always be that lending hand to grab you when you have fallen, and they're always going to be there in the audience watching you follow your journey and succeed in life. The next thing is healthy communication. True friends will always communicate openly and honestly with each other. Has anybody here, as a child growing up, played the game Telephone? Yeah, okay, good. So basically, Telephone is a game where you start off in a row or in a circle, and one person chooses a phrase or a word that they want to say. And you go one by one and pass on that phrase to everybody in the circle. If it was played properly, if you were communicating properly, the last person that says out the phrase, it should be somewhat similar or the same as the phrase that the first person picked. But oftentimes what happens is, you go around your little circle, and it comes out to be something that is completely opposite of what was chosen. This goes to show just how important communication is. Strong communication provides you with a strong foundation because all communication is the basis of every single friendship. It's like going ice skating. When you choose a lake with a very thin sheet of ice that's not fully frozen over, the moment you take a step and you step on that with your ice skates, you are falling right in there. It's the same way when we try to build a friendship off of weak communication. Now that we have that weak foundation, the moment we try to build a friendship off of that foundation, we are falling right into that lake. But when that lake is fully frozen up, you can take as many people as you want and go and ice skate, and nothing is going to happen except for some mere scratches on the surface from the ice skates. That's exactly what happens when we build our friendships off of strong communication, when we provide ourselves with these strong foundations. Another thing that characterizes a true friendship is emotional availability. A true friend is going to be there for you no matter what. Around a true friend, you never have to worry about your social battery running out, because a true friend will never drain your energy. And lastly, boundaries. True friends will respect each other's boundaries and know which lines to cross and which lines not to cross with each other. How do we cultivate these friendships, though? How do we take these steps and start? First off, we have to understand what we are looking for in these friendships. But not only do we have to understand what we are looking for, but we have to provide that from ourselves as well, because it goes both ways. It comes from within us as well. This could be anything from trustworthiness, compassion, or even humor. But we can't just look at what we're going to look for in the future. We also have to evaluate what went wrong in our past relationships. What worked, what didn't work. I had to do this coming out of my 13-year friendship. I had to ask myself, what am I looking for in a new friend, and how can I be that kind of friend too? What things am I looking to enjoy? What things am I looking not to repeat? There are 4 steps that every single one of us in this room here today can take to cultivate these new friendships. The first is to embrace change. Embracing change and understanding that we and us and others are not meant to stay in our lives forever. People in relationships always come and go, and that's okay. We have to understand that not everyone is meant to be with us from the very beginning, and not everyone is going to stay with us forever. And we have to be able to take that and move on. The next is valuing quality over quantity. It's okay, we don't need the slide. A few loving friends is always going to be greater than a large group of acquaintances. We all know the story about that one big friend group that on the outside looks like so much fun. and you want to join them, and you want to indulge in all of their activities and everything. But when you finally do, you notice that the bonds between them are very, very weak. And there's always tension and drama and beef and all this messed up stuff between them. But then you come to realize that a small group of loving friends always has a stronger bond and is always greater than a large group of nothing but mere acquaintances. Lastly, setting boundaries. I cannot stress how important boundaries are. Boundaries are very important, and they feed into our strong foundation of our friendships. Without strong boundaries that are communicated properly from the very beginning of a friendship, we don't know what to respect in the other friend. We don't know what lines to cross and what lines not to cross with these friends. Every single one of us here in this room today deserves true friendships that lift us up and not bring us down. It's time to reevaluate who you believe deserves time and space in your life. I know many of you are probably familiar with the artist SZA and her popular quote, "It's very important to surround yourself with people that see you fully." Remember, the friendships we build today shape the lives that we lead tomorrow. Something my mom always told me growing up was, "Show me your friends, and I will be able to tell what kind of person you are." So if there's one message that I want to leave you guys with today, one piece of advice that I want you guys to take out of my entire talk today, is to choose wisely who you are surrounding yourself with, and to choose those who are bringing out the best in you. Thank you.